Side-scrolling platformer games were very common on home gaming consoles in the 80s and 90s. The constantly jumping and happy Nintendo mascot Mario is one of the most recognizable characters in gaming, and nothing could change that. Well, with a possible exception of Donkey Kong Country, released in 1994. The game made quite a profit partly due to its revolutionary, almost 3D visuals. Thankfully, the game wasn't just a selling point for the Super Nintendo Entertainment System or SNES by being a graphics powerhouse. It contained much of what made a side-scrolling platformer fun, as well as featuring its own art style and gimmicks. As with just about any successful game, a sequel was inevitable. And surprisingly, it only took a year for the developers to craft it. Much like the first game, Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest, notice the pun of the title, doesn't have a deep storyline, which is a common pattern for many side-scrolling games which can easily be forgiven. After the retrieval of a stolen banana hoard, the plotline of the first game, the dastardly crocodile-like King K. Rool kidnaps the heroic Donkey Kong, and it's up to Diddy Kong and his girlfriend Dixie to save him. The player takes control of the two monkeys as they traverse a dangerous island, filled to the brim with 52 levels. The amount of variety in level and creature design is impressive, perhaps even more so than the first game. Pirate ships, volcanoes, mines, ice caves, and even roller coasters are just some of the many environments featured. Interestingly, more of the exploration in these levels tends to be on a vertical plane rather than horizontal. King K. Rool has made sure his band of gremlins will prevent you from rescuing Donkey Kong, but they are also joined by many other weirdly named creatures that resemble wasps, beetles, rats, and other animals. As with most platformers, one way to overcome these creatures is to jump on them, which will more often than not give you a boost to progress through a level, though some enemies are either invincible or only defeated through certain means. This is where we come on to the gimmicks featured in the game. The game borrows the concept of using animal buddies from its predecessor, and the concept still works really well. Whether it's flying through the air with Squawks the parrot, making a series of webby platforms with Squidge the spider, or swimming underwater with Onguard the swordfish, each animal is fun to control or play around with, some more so than others. The rewarding level design ensures each animal is far from useless. There are even times when you just transform into one of the animals for a whole level instead of riding it, which is cool. Just like in the first game, you control two monkeys, but not necessarily at the same time. If you have both monkeys on screen, you can afford to be careless at least once around enemies before losing a life, represented by balloons. Also, both monkeys are different from each other not just in gender, but also in ability. Diddy can hold projectiles as a shield and can generally move faster, particularly when doing cartwheels. While Dixie's hair is not exactly efficient for using projectiles as a shield, it can be used to hover, and over large portions of a level if you do it right. One monkey can also throw the other over to out-of-reach places or tough enemies. The levels are designed in such a way that Dixie's hover ability is not the only way to win. Diddy is also equally capable of finishing a level by himself. Some sections may require you to have both monkeys alive, so prepare for some pretty precise button pressing. Speaking of precision, Donkey Kong Country 2 is certainly a challenging game, perhaps more so than its predecessor. It starts off being pretty easy, which was generally fine when I was a kid, and the difficulty goes up big time. Even the bosses are a step up in difficulty from before. The first game was fairly easy if you were just getting to the end of the game without getting all the hidden secrets and bonuses. It is mostly the opposite with the sequel, where there are cryptic clues indicating secrets that do not necessarily require trial and error to reach. Getting from point A to point B by taking on enemies and jumping over traps and bottomless pits is more challenging, but it's surprisingly fair to the point where just about anyone can beat the game. Be warned, you will fail a lot. Just don't lose all those balloons or it's game over. Again, you get more balloons by getting 100 bananas or the optional KONG con letters. The secrets have more of a purpose in this game than they did in the first Donkey Kong Country. Each level has, on average, a few bonus stages, all containing creme coins that you can obtain when said stages are successfully completed. The reward you get from these creme coins extends the lifespan of the game. Then there are DK Hero coins. There's only one in each level, and boy are they well hidden. If the elderly Cranky Kong character intended for this scavenger hunt to be one of the most difficult parts of the game, he's succeeded. Cranky Kong, who gives hints about secrets and levels while humorously mocking the game himself, is not the only monkey that will help Diddy and Dixie in their rescue mission. There is Wrinkly Kong, the grandma monkey who explain how aspects of the game work and allow you to save your game. Also there is the glamour-obsessed quizmaster Swanky Kong, who makes sure lives or balloons are easier to get than ever. And the cool-ish Funky Kong gives you an airplane so you can revisit levels and worlds, particularly those that don't have an exclamation mark or hero coin logo on the map showing you didn't explore it fully. All of these cons generally don't offer their services for free, but that's no problem due to the plentiful and essentially optional banana coins that are scattered in each level. The first Donkey Kong Country was a graphics powerhouse, and this game is no exception. In fact, the graphics seem just that little bit better in terms of animation and its varying colour palette. The soundtrack, composed by David Wise, is amazingly atmospheric, featuring many great tunes such as Mining Melancholy, Forest Interlude, and of course, Sticker Brush Symphony. Even the Win and or Lose tune changes slightly depending on which environment you're in. In fact, the atmosphere is surprisingly darker, though thankfully not scary or nightmarish, than that featured in the first game. The game just features so many good themes, from the tight controls to the bowers that give you themes such as checkpoints or invincibility, and even the little details such as a monkey protagonist eating bits of honey from inside a beehive, or playing/dancing to music when a level is completed. Add to that the potential replay value involving 2-player co-op, or a race to see who can beat the game first, and the option to fully explore the levels for secrets, and the game is flawless. Well, almost. This game is about as flawed as its predecessor is. The game doesn't exactly reinvent the side-scrolling platformer game. The difficulty, while certainly fair, may be discouraging to some. The game resets your lives counter when you save, unless you are using the suspend feature on the Wii or Wii Virtual Console or Switch Online re-releases. The game looks, sounds and plays very similar to its predecessor in a if it ain't broke don't fix it manner, which may disappoint gamers wanting something substantially different from the successful 1994 original. Aside from the fact that Donkey Kong himself is not playable in a game that has his own name in the title. However, the little things make this sequel just that little bit better than its predecessor, which is still worth playing anyway. When it comes to charm, variety, gameplay mechanics and even challenge, Donkey Kong Country 2 Diddy's Kong Quest is one of the greatest side-scrolling platform games of its time and is still worth going bananas over today. It's about time it was featured on the Nintendo Switch's online service after being released on the Virtual Console and even Game Boy Advance.